This video is going to cover a mental model for thinking about value creation with AI. And I'm going to introduce to you a framework that we've been using with customers and internally for a way to think about the effort and value that we can create with AI. So in the past, product teams would have, and it's still very, very true today, a grid that would be effort versus value. That's not what I have on here. We're going to get into what I have in a second, which would help you basically figure out how much effort, how much is going to cost me to build, and how much value am I going to get out of it. The grid that I have here in the world of AI is effort versus possibility. Okay, there are things now that are much lower effort with the AI than they used to be, and we'll go through that in a second. And there are things that were just impossible to do before that you can do now. Okay, so I'm going to take a very simple use case that we've seen for many, many years and is pervasive across businesses, which is invoice processing. Now, invoice processing, if you had an image come in, you would do, in the past, OCR, optical character recognition, and that was a process of taking a form or an image and drawing boxes around parts of that form that you've seen, and basically saying, here's where the address is going to be, here's where the table with all the charges and amounts are going to be, and map that into a data structure and put it into our database and hopefully get an automation. And that was a big gain for a lot of people, and that was possible. And if you just did one, that would sit here. Very mature technology, very possible to do, and relatively low effort. Now, if you wanted to support 10 to 100 forms, you would need to go and do that same process over and over again. Your effort would be a factor of how many forms you want to do. If you did 1,000, the effort will go up here. It was possible. You could have teams and you could figure out a way to systematize it and use lower cost labor to actually do that training, and that's still fine, okay? But the big breakthrough with AI is that you can simply go to an AI now, give it the invoice, and say, I know that this is an invoice, and I want to get these discrete data fields from the name, the address, the vendor, everything else, and then I want to get the table structure of data out, and here's all the charges, and here's the 20 fields that I expect, and here's the structure that I want out. And you can tell the AI, here's this image, I've never seen it before, nor do I care, you AI, figure it out and give me back the data that I want. So that 100 invoice use case from an effort perspective just went down here. In addition to that, before, this was a factor of how many you could have a human sit there and do OCR for. If you wanted to support just any arbitrary document that came in that you never saw before, it was basically impossible. AI is taking this one where any arbitrary form that would come in, and not only making it possible, but making it much lower effort. Those use cases are everywhere in corporate America with AI. The old way of doing things is obsolete for many ways that we used to do stuff in engineering, in data engineering. So I'll give you another one. Okay, let's say you get a document that comes into the business. You don't know what it is. Someone would have to go through a categorization exercise to say, this is an invoice, this is a receipt, sort them all out. That sorting exercise in data science terms is called classification. The way that would work in the past, let's just say you had a classifier for receipt versus invoice. A data engineer would go and gather a whole bunch of data, cleanse it, get it categorized, and someone would go and do what they call labeling, which is essentially saying this document here is an invoice, this document here is an invoice, this one's a receipt, etc. And then they would go through this whole training process and produce a model, a one-off model, a very, very narrow model based on your data, which is the data science part of all of this. And it would do that. So in that classification, it would be awesome, right? It was a huge breakthrough. It was amazing that we could even do that. But I would say it was possible before, but it would be costly. Data engineers are, we know how much data engineers cost, and that if, for anybody that's not in tech, data engineers rightfully earn a lot of money because they make a lot, they make a lot of amazing impact to business. So that would be something that was possible before, but like super high effort and a lot of cost, okay? And you'd have to maintain it and everything else. Now with the model, that same problem, you give it the image, you say, I know it's in one of these two categories. AI, you figure it out. So, boom. That just became way cheaper to do. And arguably better. Now, there is fine tuning on top of this and everything else today that potentially would have an impact. So, all right, so that's one. So I think a lot of product roadmaps and effort needs to be reevaluated on how much effort it takes to create value on just that, okay? Now, let's go through something that was basically impossible before. Impossible should just be off the chart because you just wouldn't do it, okay? So what I'll use for this example is something that we have internally that I'm going to spin out as a product, which is our recruiting platform. My particular problem was, we had certain criteria that we wanted our candidates to meet, a very technical firm, and, I would get hundreds, thousands of applicants for certain things. So I want to take the best matches and rank order those over top and make some decisions on those. Now in the past, people create some rules, maybe some keyword matching. A lot of people who are candidates in the past would talk about doing keyword stuffing to just get through these applicant tracking systems. Totally old school. So we built internally, being AI forward, we built this whole platform internally for automating that process and bringing the best candidates rank order to the top that I should look at. Now, that particular project is like high fidelity reality because I would get on the phone with these candidates and then before I pass them off to some of our engineers to also talk to, it was, once we put this in, it was, I was jumping around my office. It's just amazing, right? So that, though, making a decision, an arbitrary decision on the quality of a candidate for a particular position with a super intelligence, basically at that decision point in the business, was basically impossible before. I had to do a whole bunch of hoops around like getting other data in, and we pull in LinkedIn data and other profile data and we have the resume and everything else. And there's a lot of like data engineering orchestration to get it into it. So I would say it was basically like a medium effort, and we'll grow out the product and productize it. So effort will go on, but it was basically impossible before. So that's essentially making decisions at a point in your business process. And I would say from an effort perspective, let's say it's like right in the middle right now. And I would say it's like in the pretty darn possible perspective right now. Now, could someone like myself or a seasoned engineer go through those resumes and make a better decision? Sometimes. Other times, the AI can do a lot of great decision making. So what's the point for your business though on that? It's that tactically in your business process now, if you can find a decision point that happens over and over again, a very concrete decision that happens in a business process, you can put an AI on that. And before, where you'd have to have a human's judgment, you can programmatically put that into an AI, and depending on the severity of that use case and everything else, like you have to be very cautious and risk adverse on some of these things. But in many use cases that we're seeing across our customers right now, it's actually raising the level of quality for the cost. The AI is cheaper and it's a better quality. So those are the two dimensions that I think about constantly and we talk about with customers. It's, oh my gosh, this thing that we can do now, it used to take us back just 2 years ago, 6 months and a team to do, and we can now do it in a few weeks. There's those type of projects. And then there's these other parts that it was just like taking unstructured data from just random data sources and putting into structure and making decisions on those type of things are completely new blue ocean scenarios for every business. So trying to shoot these as these ideas like come up in my day-to-day and say, maybe this will be useful on LinkedIn. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment below if there's anything I could improve, maybe my pacing duration or other examples, or anything else that you want to know, let me know. And reach out if you need help with your AI initiatives, Proactive Logic, we're all in. All right, thanks so much.